All right. Hello, my name is David Rakel. I'm the director of the University of Wisconsin Integrative Medicine Program. I'm here with my colleague and friend, Dr. Saria Pierce.
Hello.
Family physician, Hatha yoga instructor and practitioner. And he's going to share with us some of his wisdom and guidance in regards to how we can incorporate some of the philosophies and practices of yoga into our healthcare practice. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So tell me, first of all, Surya, how you got interested in this.
Well, my parents actually were yoga practitioners and exposed me and my siblings to some basic yoga practices growing up. I remember often when my sisters and I would become upset, they would remind us to watch our breath or focus on our breathing. And I learned at a very early age that that's one very simple and easy way that I could soothe myself and learn to relax and eventually to even control my emotions. As a college student, I later got more interested in yoga, and I studied formally with a number of yoga teachers, eventually going to India on a number of occasions to study with various yoga teachers.
Yeah. You mentioned controlling emotions.
Yeah.
A lot of times in primary care we see that the emotions are a big part of why someone's blood pressure might go up or what may trigger a headache. How can we learn from you to help manage those emotions through the yoga culture and traditions and therapeutic interventions?
Sure. Well, I think yoga and the larger realm of contemplative practice has a long history of specific practices to cultivate certain emotional states and sort of root out or undo negative emotional states. Breathing practices, I feel, are one of the most direct routes to do that. And as you state, it's quite clear that emotional states have a big impact on many aspects of our life, including our health. So I would focus my energy on breathing and studying the breath, but also learning breathing practices to extend the yogic teachings into healthcare.
Yeah. So how might yoga breath work be different from just a simple abdominal breathing, or is it the same?
Well, the yogis are sort of a group that share a certain paradigm that in many ways is similar to those of basic scientists. They're interested in probing and understanding reality, but their field of inquiry, their stage of inquiry, and their methods are very different. And so one of the observations of the yogis is that the breath is unique within our physiology in that it's easy to control. It doesn't take much effort to manipulate it. And so over many years, I mean centuries and millennia, the yogis have developed a number of practices. I am aware of other breathing practices from various traditions. I'm not aware of any that's as in-depth as those found in the yoga tradition.
That actually has a term, Pranayama yoga, is that the one? How would you define Pranayama yoga?
Well, pranayama is a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit words are very interesting. It's much like Latin is in the scientific tradition in that the words are very precise, and that precision lends itself to sort of the naming of reality, particularly in-depth reality. So the word pranayama has a couple of meanings, as many Sanskrit words. Prana refers to wind. It also refers to the breath. It also refers to the life force. So it's one and the same as qi in Chinese, lung in Tibetan, qi in Japanese. It's related to our English word anima, that's a Greek root of pneumatic, and the Latin root is actually spiritus. So all of those words also have a strongly spiritual connotation. Pranayama, yama means restraint, so pranayama can be defined as the restraint of the breath or the restraint of the life force. Ironically, ayama is the expansion of, so pranayama can also be defined as the expansion of the life force and the breath.
Yeah. So, traditionally when we say breath work, we're particularly in Western medicine, we say, okay, do this breathing exercise to lower your blood pressure, or do this breathing exercise to reverse the stress response. Mm-hmm. But what you're teaching us, that it goes much farther than that. The breath is a way to maybe explore, expand, or encourage contemplation regarding something deeper.
That's right, yeah. The yogis developed pranayama predominantly as a way to cultivate the biophysical sphere in a particular orientation spiritually. And another way that we, I think, can understand that is in terms of expanding consciousness, expanding our ability to be aware of the world around us. The health benefits are largely considered byproducts of that process, although yoga's sister science, which is Indian Ayurvedic medicine, is a tradition that does use many of these practices therapeutically.
Great. Are you going to use some of these drawings to help explain?
Yes, so one of the concepts from yoga, and particularly pranayama, that points out the potential utility for our medicine is symbolized by this diagram. It's really a diagram of Cartesian duality. That is the duality between the body and the mind. We have, there's a long history of this duality, this separation between the physical reality and what we conceive of as mind. That's a duality that exists in other parts of the world and other, intellectual traditions. On one hand, we have the physical substance. I like to think about this as being the gross realm. It's the world of tangible objects, things that have precise location and exist in a particular time. On the other hand, we have the mind, which by nature is very ephemeral. It's symbolized by this sort of amorphous spiral. The mind can take on forms of anything that you can imagine from the yogic view. And I think most people experience their minds just intuitively as being much more hard to grasp, more hard to understand than the physical solid world. It turns out that this view is bridged in yoga by the breath, or by prana. In other words, the breath, as we observe it in our own bodies, has on one hand, a very physical nature, a very coarse or gross nature. But on the other hand, it has a very subtle nature. There's a place that the breath even seems to touch the mind. It's the observation of the yogis, and one that I agree with and have observed as well, that any change in the mind in some way is often reflected in the breath. That is to say, when your thoughts change or when your mind changes, your breath also changes. This is also true of your body. We know that the breath changes the rate of the heart. It provides oxygen to every cell in the body. It also exchanges waste products such as CO2. So by contemplating the breath and experimenting the breath, we have a bridge between the gross and the subtle.
I find one of the most important things that we can teach our patients is to just learn how to breathe. And you're going to share that with us.
I hope to.
Very good.